somebody's statement about you derail your gift. Pick them up, put them down. You understand what I'm talking about? Because it came naturally out of me. And they may be jealous of your gift, which is why they may try to derail you, right? So encourage participation, but recognize that Satan comes to class too. Comes to church too. And it just made, like when COVID started, and he looks at our feeds from Facebook and YouTube, so I gotta be careful because this is going to go to YouTube, and I'm sure you'll see it. But when COVID started, we knew we needed to start recording, and so we would have a wide angle. We would just use the laptop until we realized that we could feed it through the camera lens and point it in whatever direction we wanted. But the first several months, we just had the laptop and it's got a big wide angle, it catches everything. So we would turn it so that as I'm preaching, it would just get me. So brother kept getting up and they go on Pastor, so he could see himself in the camera. Because we would do some of the service. It wasn't just a sermon. It would be the song and stuff like that. We would do a little bit of that. And if they had nothing to do during that portion, he would sit in the chair. I'm not kidding. And he would put his feet out like this so he could at least see his feet and the lens of the laptop camera. And so eventually he said, "You don't want me on camera, do you? Because I kept turning it." I said, "The last thing you want to be, sir, is a distraction." And so far, you've done a good job of being a distraction. I'm going to let you speak next week so you'll get a chance to be in the camera and you'll see where I am so I don't distract what you're saying. But yeah, some people, their aim is to be seen. And their aim is to be heard. So you want to know that going forward and be prepared and how to derail or stop that as best you can and nurture them to behave more appropriately. Now that's easier said than done. I get that. But they're not there to learn. They're there to frustrate you. You should know them by their fruits. So we got a bunch of lemons over there. Last time I checked, lemon is a fruit. Go and get a loaf of bread. So as we're getting their feedback, the book says, don't evaluate what they're saying too quickly. Same pages, 89 and 92. It says on page 91, from my book, yours may be different, don't evaluate students' discussion responses, saying, you want to make sure they've learned before you give the evaluation. So you might say, that's good, or that's an interesting point. I like what you said there, because you want to let them get their aha moment and then tie it off at the end, rather than to give early evaluations. So learning how to, allow them to interact and respond, and you got your probing questions and your, follow-up questions, but make sure that you give the lesson a chance to come to fullness before you start making an evaluation. Because the person that was afraid to ask a question could end up being the person that stops asking questions altogether. Right? So you want them to think. So it says, we naturally want to affirm everyone. That's right under don't evaluate students' discussion. And about 2 paragraphs below, 3 paragraphs below that said, we must recognize that teacher reinforcement is powerful. We must use it wisely. You all see that? Yes, sir. And then 2 paragraphs down from that, we can also reserve our opinions until the end of the discussion. After everyone has shared and engaged their brains, we can help illuminate the subject with our thoughts or with an insight from God's Word.
What page is it?
So that's 91.
Same page on this book?
It should be.
It's
Or
95.
95.
yeah, it could be 1 page off. But remember, it's right under number 4. Don't evaluate students' discussion. If you're there, go down to where it says we can also reserve our opinions. It's about 6 paragraphs down. Should be on the same side. Come down about 6 paragraphs. We can also. You see that? Yeah. Reserve our opinion. Yeah. Until the end of the discussion. Okay, and then encourage, number 5, encourage students' questions. Right? Thinking percolates when teachers ask good questions, but a sure sign that thinking goes into 4-wheel drive is when students begin to ask the question. Right? Because you know they're thinking. So how does this work in a church worship service during a sermon? I see how this works in class. How would this work during church? Now I'm asking a thinking question. I'm mimicking the book.
During a worship service?
Yeah, you're up as, the word handler that day. How would you, as the minister or you as the audience, find this workable? Or is it only workable in a Sunday school type environment?
Well, when you're getting into your treatment
Right.
part of the sermon, right?
There she goes.
Then you would ask the questions like although you're going to explain how you can apply such,
Right.
such kingdom truth or living, you're going to explain it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be in the treatment part of it, right?
Right. That's part of the treatment. Yeah. The ebb and the flow. Because normally when we're in a sermon mode, it's one directional.
Okay.
Right? It's lecture.
So what you're saying, if the minister is up speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How can we encourage questions during a worship service? Or would that just not be appropriate? Because if you want the learning to happen, how many people have been in a service, you got a sermon, and you said, I didn't quite understand.
Well, you're taking notes.
Yeah, you're taking notes.
I write,
Right.
when a pastor minister is preaching,
Right.
I write every Sunday something, and so if then I don't understand it, I can go to them.
There you go. That's one way to do it. I like that.
Well, then the open-ended questions, and then you give the answer.
You could. One of the things that I try to do is I play to the audience. right? So if I see a furrowed eyebrow,
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta work that again. So I will pose their question for them.
Right, okay.
Like, Reverend, what do you mean? I don't understand what you just said. And they're like, yes, right? And I need you to rephrase what you just said. If I don't see that, then it could be false. But my presumption is that they got it.
Right, okay.
But one way that I have learned to do it is to phrase their question for them. In other words, if it's a point that seems tough to get, like Jesus said, you can't follow me unless you eat my body and drink my blood. And then Peter says, who can do this? You had a big crowd and they all left because of what you just said. Right? And so, some messages pick up statements or doctrinal direction that are difficult for people to take. If they steal your jacket, give them your overcoat. Right? Most of us, you take my jacket, I'm going to yank it off you. You know what I'm saying? But learning how to interpret what the Bible is saying, which is biblical. That would be hermeneutics, which is the phase 2 of our time together. We're in phase 1. And then being able to share it and encourage, because in a classroom, it's easier to ask questions, opening a question to get it. But in a message, what you have to do maybe is say the question that you think they're thinking and watch their response. And if they do this, then you know you got it.
So when you're speaking, watching your audience, my God.
You got to watch.
I mean, you ought to be able to tell when you know you've just gone too long, because you're watching. You're watching.
Remember, it's only us. It's only us in here. So other folk, right? They don't have what we got.
And if you see too many
Yeah.
groans and
Or they do this.
I mean,
They look at
it's
it.
time to take notice.
Right. What we're saying now is only going to be effective for those of us in this room. So, now if you are a senior pastor at your location, then it's going to affect your church in a grandiose way.
When somebody
But if they're not in this class, we may struggle with what we're getting every Sunday. And the Lord is going to teach us how to adjust.
But I heard a sermon, and I said, where did he get that from?
Probably the internet.
But I'm just
Go ahead.
saying, because I wrote down
Right.
the scripture that he was coming from, but it was nothing of what he was saying, and it
Right.
didn't make any sense.
Right.
And he was wrong, so I was taught when I was taught that when you hear something
Right.
and you have a question, then you need to go and do your research, and then you can come back and ask that question too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was so far out in left field.
Right. Well, I will say without fear of contradiction that once I got what this is all about, it helped my church. Because I'm the principal deliverer of sermons on Sunday, and people, and the principal deliver a Bible study on Wednesdays. Sunday school, it's a little different because everybody does a different style, and some are more like me with gadgets and stuff like that, and PowerPoints, and others don't have those tools. We have the tools in the church, but unless you say, can you put something like that together for me, it's hard for them, and I get it. So every Sunday for Sunday school, when we do General Assembly, we have a different person up, and they do it in a different way, and you can kind of critique and help them in that way. And sometimes the best teachers get up there and learn, yourself. Then, you can appreciate what somebody else is doing when it's their turn, right? But, again, we want to encourage thinking, not discourage, right? So, they have this in the book, The Cone of Experience. Where is that image? There it is, on 104 in this book.
108 and 9.
Okay, or 108 in the other book. Okay, The Cone of Experience. All right, so at the top it says verbal symbols and words. That's 10, 9 visual symbols, maps, drawings, charts. 8 recordings, radio, still pictures. 7 motion pictures, television. 6 exhibits. 5 study trips. 4 demonstrations. 3 dramatic presentations, plays, puppet shows, etc. 2 contrived experiences, games, simulations, role plays. 1 direct, purposeful, personal experience. Right? So, yes.
You're not asking questions for, you have to be asking questions.
Thank you! All right, for those that are online.
Oh, yeah.
How did I miss that? Okay, what you gotta do at this point is summarize what I said thus far. All right? Summarize, yes! You're in class. You gotta summarize. And I don't want a one-word summarization. Good, excellent. No, you got to write out some of the stuff I said and give your opinion. All right?
And also, would some of this be on our exam while we're at it?
Sorry, First Lady.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble. How did I miss that? Thank you. All right, so you had,
How, with some of this, what we're underlining or whatever, but would that be on the final exam?
the cone of experience. I think what this is really trying to do, and they've got the small to the large on page 104. You said it was 108 in somebody else's book? Cone of experience. Okay. I think what this is really trying to do is give you different ways in which you connect with people. And the largest, fastest way to connect would be direct, purposeful, and personal experience. So one of the things you've heard me do on the regular is talk about some of the things that have happened to me while I was in class, while I was teaching or preaching. And so my personal experience will make a faster connection than me just telling you that, every now and then, somebody gets in the way, but I didn't really tell you what happened to me while I was in class. You know what I mean? So one is like objective data, another one is more subjective. I'm putting myself in the story. And you can almost see what's going on in that classroom or in that church service, right? So, the cone of experience, I don't believe I'm going to utilize that in any way of testing. Because technically, when you look at it, none of this is far-fetched. Verbal symbols and words, right? Visual, symbolic, maps, symbols, maps, drawings, chart. I mean, we got that every day, right? Drive on the street, you're going to see a billboard, right? Recordings, radio, still pictures. You probably listen to someone on your way to church today, right? Motion picture. You probably saw a movie on Netflix or Disney Channel, or So I mean, this is us. Anyway, but if we're teaching, I remember one of our young adult director at the time said to me, we need to have a movie night at the church. Just bring in a Christian movie and then have you go through an explanation of it, right? And so I went and grabbed it. I said, you sure they're all going to show up? Yes. Okay. On a Friday night, they're coming. Yes. Because I don't mind doing new things, but don't have me waste my time. And at that time, we had maybe 40 young adults. I don't think we had 5 show up that night. On Friday night. And I had a workbook. I grabbed, I went and purchased a whole package of a Christian movie, showed it, and I dealt with the 5 that were there. And I did it once, because I'll give you, if you say we need that, I'll give it to you. And you might be on to something, you might be on to nothing, right? Okay. So yeah, this cone of experience really kind of, the connection is going to be direct down here. We want to do more direct, but sometimes you may not be able to be as efficient as you would like in that regard. So know that there are other ways in which you can make your connections, right? Okay. And you see on the next page, average retention. Probably should have put that slide up. 5 to 10% spoken or written communication, 25% media, 40-60% role play, 80-90% direct experience. So if you want them to retain what you're saying, the more you can give direct experience, the better your options are. So then it goes into, our book goes into how people learn. Right? And we talked about this earlier. It's on the bottom of 106. For me, it might be 108 or 110 for you. It's a learning styles box. You see visual learners there? Yours are 110? I promise you, you're going to see this on the table.
Just next week is the
Oh, Lord. Ooh, hold my hand. And I promise you, you're going to see average retention on there. So you better do something. You're going to see that. You will be tested on that. Or that is something that I'm pretty sure I might use. Because again, It's about your thinking rather than about your testing.
Okay.
So I need you to,
So average
Yeah.
retention?
that you're gonna need that data, and certainly this next one, how people learn. So visual learners remember what they see. That's on the bottom of 106, or you said 110 in that little square. Visual learners,
Yes. Learning styles.
learning style. All right, so you got number one is visual.
Yes.
Number, right? So they remember what they see. So, we have a projection screen. And I think I mentioned to you all this point, some things you can't do every Sunday, but you might be able to do it ever so often. Because if you overdo one thing, then it just becomes mundane. That's why we don't do communion every Sunday. Because you don't want it to lose its effect. So, ever so often, I will bring the sermon through PowerPoint. And I'll use the clicker instead of my media person, because I know how many slides, like I'll write in my sermon 3 slides. Right? You know, point 1, 3 slides. Point 2, 5 slides. Point, 3, 1 slide. Right? So if you're doing the clicking, you know, because I put in parentheses how many slides I got for that. So that will work. And then there I think I mentioned that I did a lesson on tithing, and at a particular point in the message, I said, bring it in. So they would bring in a table. So you have to prep people to do certain things. They brought in a tiny table, and then they brought in a long table. And I said, item number 1, please. So they would bring in, a 10 apples, 1 year, and 9 of it. 1 head of lettuce, 9 of it, right? 1 bag of chips, 9 of it. And so it became obvious. Everything you got, God said, that's yours. And this is mine. And when you see one table is overflowing, because they at some point they can't get it on the table, so stuff started falling. I said, leave it. Don't try to pick it up. Just let it fall. And because I might have did 15 items, right? Because I needed to make it visually clear that you don't have an excuse when it comes to time. This is all he's asking for. It's all you got, and you won't do what he asks, right? And so tithing shot up that, and has been consistent because they saw it. Now, across the year, right, or across the years, that kind of a message you can only do maybe once every 2 or 3 years, because you need new members to see that. So I'm due to do another tithing lesson, because the new people have never seen it. So they come in with their $5 and they think they're doing something, right? Then they drive it off in a Benz, right? So anyway, so visual learners remember what they see. And 20 years after I did that message with the camera, somebody reminded me, that one sermon you did over at the other building, I never forgot. They reminded me 20 years later, right? So, auditory learners remember what they hear. So, we hope that people remember our sermons and stuff like that, which is why your worksheets kind of go in particular directions on purpose to get you used to thinking about prepping, because sometimes if you're using a Sunday school commentary, a lot of those skills are already in there, but if they're not in there, they're now in your head, and you can reframe your teaching experience to include those things, those tools, right? So auditory, right? So they were